Sox in the basement.
I gotta tell you, Ed, it is so much easier to put the show together when it's just me. If I didn't love you so much, I would just do it myself. Like on Friday, you were shopping for a car, and I just did it myself. And then I did all the editing and all the video work during commercial breaks of the Bears game. Like I didn't even have to think because there's not a 2-camera thing going back and forth. It made my life so much easier. So anytime you want to go car shopping, you just let me know.
Well, I don't need to do it all that often. I don't have a whole fleet underneath me or anything like that. This was just a one-time thing.
Well, your car was falling apart. I explained that your wife was trying to kill you, and the brakes had been mysteriously cut, and the glass had fallen in on you. And I'm glad that you were able to get out of that death trap. If the brakes fail on the new car, she's definitely trying to kill you.
Well, yeah, this is a test. This is what this is. I buy a brand new car because brake lines don't snap on new cars.
Right. This is the test to find out whether or not there was murder afoot. and that maybe you should like change things in like your life insurance plan and I don't know, put some locks on a separate room that you go and live in while you try to sort it all out. What car did you pick out?
I ended up with a Hyundai Santa Fe.
A Hyundai Santa Fe. Why did you pick that? I always want to ask people who buy a car, why that car?
One, they are nice. A little weird to look at because it's a big box, but you know they're very nice. And turns out that the sales guy who sold it to me is a huge fan of ours, likes to watch us in his living room on YouTube.
Oh, he's a YouTube viewer. Oh, he's on the YouTube channel. Well, that's awesome.
He is on the YouTube.
Hello to you.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right, you got a first name you want to?
Hi, David Patrick Hyundai.
What's his name? What's the guy's name? Do you know?
Dave Polchik.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thanks for selling him a car that's not going to kill him unless his wife gets to the brake line. Okay. And so you pick out this car and he was a listener. That's got to be kind of fun, right? Like,
I mean, it's always fun because it gives us something to talk about.
Do you get a discount?
Well, yeah.
You did? So I didn't even know I got to be honest with you folks. I had no idea he probably got a discount because of this. And I mentioned it, like I should get a kickback now from your discount. Like I think you owe me a check because I brought it up at the beginning of the show. Like there's free advertising now.
I don't.
I consult my lawyer, but you're my lawyer.
Let's talk. And as your lawyer, I'm going to say that there's no kickbacks here.
All right, let's talk about the White Sox. I want to talk about the Rule 5 draft. Can we get into that first? I do want to talk about the Pope as well, but I do want to talk first about the Rule 5 draft because I noticed a tweet a little while back. I want to say it was Baseball America, and I've seen this covered from a couple different ways. But it was first rounders that were left off of 40-man rosters. So then I said, okay, well then I got to go and I got to look up, is this list complete, whatever. And I said, okay, these are guys that were drafted early on by their clubs, which means they have high pedigrees, who now have reached a point in their minor league career where they have not developed quick enough. And so now they're available for the White Sox to pluck with the second overall pick in the Rule 5 draft. And I mean, that you can get something really good at that position for your Rule 5 draft. And we've talked about this before. It's easier to hide a pitcher, especially in the bullpen. So what I said is let's find some pitchers. And it turns out most of them, at least these first round guys, are terrible. So like the first, Maddox Bruns, not Burns, Bruns from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is now Rule 5 eligible at 23 years of age, and he has not made it above high A ball. And in high A ball, his whip is like, around a 1.6. So he sucks.
Oh.
Yeah, he's terrible. So that's a bad pick by the Dodgers. I'm sure they'll find a way to flip that, and they'll get somebody to convince that he's a Dodger. So he must be worth, like if they would have kept him, that's the kind of guy that they pass off on somebody. I mean, he's bad.
They still might.
They might eventually pass him off. There's a guy, Frank Mazzucato, and he is in the Kansas City Royals system. So I look him up and I'm like, okay, well, how far has he made it? He just made it to Double-A ball. And his whip in the minors is a 1.472.
Ugh.
Like, I don't want that guy, and he's not ready to get to the majors, right? So, like, I mean, we're kind of doing this very simply, but this has to be stuff that they do, right? There's no way they have a scout on every minor league player. Like, they may start watching film, but there's got to be something in the numbers that makes them say, okay, this guy's available. He's on the list of all these guys that are available in this draft. and we like this stat, or we don't like this one, so don't just pass him over. But we like this stat. And that's why I got to bring up the name that I was interested in when I just looked at pitchers that are available for the Rule 5 draft that were first-round guys. And there's a guy by the name of Reggie Crawford. Now, Reggie Crawford is a weird case. This is a guy who first base, or I don't know if he was always a first baseman, but the Giants had him as first base and pitcher. He's one of these dual threat players. He sucks as a hitter.
So he's a single threat, but they let him take at bats.
Right. Like,
yeah.
He the last time he took at bats was in 2023. He has dealt with some injury. But the last time he took at bats was in 2023 in high A ball. And A ball was about the only levels he was at, and he hit 194 in the minor leagues.
So he's a pitcher.
Right. Now, he also didn't get a lot of at-bats. It looks like this guy got what did he get? He got over 3 seasons, he got 40 plate appearances. The Giants don't think he's a dual threat either.
No, this was a novelty that this guy got a chance to hit sometimes.
Like, as I'm looking at him, like, the Giants didn't believe in him either. They're like, you're terrible. So if you look at his pitching, though, there's good and there's bad. I'll give you the good first. The good is the fact that over the course of his entire minor league career, and it looks like a 1.205 walks and hits per innings pitched, and an ERA of 2.89. That's pretty amazing, right? And he's made it to AAA, where he had 7 appearances in 2024 with a 1.154 whip and an ERA of 1.04. They only used him as a relief pitcher in AAA over those 7 appearances. And that same year, he had 7 appearances in AA, where he had 1 start. Now, before that, he was used as a starter. When they moved him up, they started moving him into relief. It also could be, though, because he was having problems. He eventually gets Tommy John surgery. He's working his way back. And now he's got something with his labrum that's going to take him out for the entire season. So he's got injury concerns. But when healthy in the minor leagues, pretty effective pitcher at keeping guys off base. And the Giants don't put him on the 40-man and make him available. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can hide guys like this on your 60-day IL. You can basically hide them for the whole year, and you get to hold on to them, and you don't need to keep them on the 26-man roster, correct?
Yeah, you can do that.
So like you can say, look at the potential of this guy. He's out for all of 2025. But if we hold on to him for that year on the 60-day IL with this legitimate injury that he has, and we draft him in the Rule 5 draft, yes, he won't contribute to us in 2026. I'm sorry, he's going to miss. He missed 25. He's going to miss 2026 and be back in 27. But here's a guy that you could basically just hide who's got potential. I mean, he made it to AAA and keeps guys off base. So, like, this is a weird pick because I think to myself, okay, well, then just go grab him and hold on to that guy. That's a body, but he's not contributing this year. And after you see what they did last year with guys that actually contributed, maybe I'm selling the White Sox short by using that second overall pick on this guy.
Yeah, see, I view him as a guy that you take a flyer on after that second overall pick because you have opportunities like Hayden Mullins of the Red Sox organization, who, coming off of Tommy John surgery, gets back onto the field last year, only makes it to AA, but 18 starts in AA, a 2.76 ERA with a 1.169 whip.
And he's ready to pitch.
Yeah, and he's ready to go. He's got a career 1.188 whip in the minor leagues over the course of 48 games, 42 of which are starts. So he's a guy that you could, in that second overall pick, have kind of a Shane Smith-like impact if you want to put him at the back end of the rotation to start off the season.
No, or you do what
and he pans out.
Or it's what they thought Shane Smith was going to be, which was a relief pitcher. Shane Smith became a starter because of what he did in spring. I don't think that was ever the intention for him to even be a starting pitcher. They were going to hide him in the bullpen. Right?
Right. Or that's what you did with Mike Vassell last year.
Right, exactly.
You used him in the bullpen and you moved him around from long relief to sometimes to high leverage roles as he got better. And so that's what you do. And then, maybe Vassell gets an opportunity to either continue in those high leverage roles in the bullpen, which is pretty wide open, or he gets a look as a starter. Mullins could get a look as a starter in spring, but you could definitely use him, like you said, like Shane Smith, long relief to start off with. And if he pitches well, maybe you take a flyer on him as your fifth starter, right? And give him some starts. That's the kind of thing with the second overall pick that you're looking at, and if you're going to go position players, there is one name that I saw, Yohendrick Pinango of the Blue Jays.
I'm going to love butchering that name if they select him.
Yeah. Yohendrick Pinango, who is kind of up and down. Last year, AAA, 235 with Toronto.
You see the outfielder?
Yeah.
Oh, I put him on my fantasy team for a little bit last year.
You did.
I did. I read a scouting report on him, and we have a fantasy league. I've talked about this on the show before. Ed's really bad at it. I'm really good, and he's won a few championships, but not.
I was about to say I'm one of three people in the league who's won a champ.
Yeah, but
I'm one of two that's won multiple championships.
Yeah, but I've won 5. I mean,
I know you've won most of them. I'm not debating you on that.
Here's the thing: like, it's a 40-man roster, and you get to hide essentially 14 guys in your minor leagues for development. And I use that to build my dynasty that I have in this league. And I saw this guy in the middle of the year, and he had a really hot month. And there was a little bit of hype now all of a sudden about him. And I didn't know if he was going to make it to the majors, but I know he was under consideration with that Blue Jays team of being a guy that would come up if there was an injury. Like, there was a point last year where there, in the 25 season era we just got through, there was a point where he was considered maybe the next guy up. And he could have been added to the 40-man at that time and elevated. And the Blue Jays chose not to do it, and now they choose not to protect him. This is a guy who's very, very close to the majors because he almost made it on that team that ends up going to the World Series.
Yeah, well, he had a 928 OPS in AA.
Yeah.
Okay, with 298 average.
I think he got to AAA and he stumbled. I think that was what I remember.
Yeah, but you know what? Even still, his career numbers, he just doesn't strike out a ton. He's under 20% strikeout rate.
That would make sense.
Which bodes really well for a guy, to come up and have some success in the majors, because when the guys are down there, even if they're hitting home runs, even if they've got the high OPS, but they're hovering around 30% as their K rate, that's always a huge red flag, because when they come up, their lack of ability to make consistent contact in the minors is just magnified when they get to the majors, and the pitchers are actually really, really good, because if you're striking out 30% of the time in AAA, where some of the worst professional pitchers are clinging desperately to their careers, you're not going to do well when you actually have to get up here and face, Paul Skeens or something like that, right? So, yeah, you have a guy, he becomes intriguing because he's a lefty bat as well. And a lefty outfielder would be something that Chris Getz seemed to be looking for. I mean, he just let Mike Tauchman go on the idea that they've got other options, other plans, other targets. So he's a guy that you sit there and you go, well, if you think that you can put up with him having some rookie ups and downs, and why wouldn't you on a team that in 2026 is going to have some ups and downs from second year players? Maybe he becomes a guy that, because he's an intriguing prospect and a guy that a champion class Blue Jays team, a team that should have probably won the World Series, they are considering using this guy in their own outfield during the year. How could you not consider him if you're the White Sox and sitting here going, maybe we catch lightning in a bottle? You're already doing that with Everson Pereira based on the trade that you made with
I was going to say that is a very similar type player, a guy on the cusp who you just added in a trade. This other one you could pick up in the Rule 5 draft. Folks, make this fall your game days the most comfortable you could possibly make them with Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Football's fun again in Chicago. Oh my gosh. Like, what are we now? Are we the number 1 seed as I record
Number
this?
1 seed in the NFC.
Am I in a coma? It makes absolutely no sense. For seniors and those with mobility challenges, that also means more time sitting. And a lift chair from Hyatt Home Medical Equipment makes all the difference. Easy standing and sitting. Push a button and the chair just lifts you up. All-day comfort with cushions and adjustable recline, built-in support, circulation benefits to elevate your legs and reduce swelling, and it's safety first at home. Prevent falls and strain when you're standing up. Get the latest in lift chair technology from Hyatt Home Medical Equipment on the southwest side of Chicago, right there in the suburbs in Evergreen Park. Visit their website at hhme.com.
You can listen to our show on Tuesday, this very episode, while you're standing in line at the Wiener Circle for your free hot dog, thanks to Ben Johnson's nipples.
That is, he took his shirt off. Like, when Ben Johnson took his shirt off, I must have watched that video 20 times, almost to the point where it was weird that I kept watching this guy take his shirt off. But I just was I'm amazed at that locker room. I want that for the White Sox. Like I want what the Bears are doing for the White Sox. How does Jerry Reinsdorf hide in his darkened evil lair, which I always in my mind just picture the evil owner from The Natural, like smoking his stogie, right? Surrounded by
I picture Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine.
Either way, he's got that guy standing behind him. We've never met him before, but he's got like that thing that comes out of his head and like stretches around his neck, whatever that is, with a weird Star Wars thing that they came up with. Okay, but how does he ignore this? Look at this team. I mean, you may not. I listen to sports talk radio like everybody else. There are people who sit there and say, "Oh, Ryan Poles, I don't know if he's the right guy at GM. I don't know if he's right or wrong." You know, you could make arguments. You could pick anything apart. But what the Bears did was that they finally got out of their own way and they gave a big contract to the hottest coach they could go out and get. They got the GM at the time that everybody wanted, and they spent money on their team. And look at them. Now, I know it's the Bears, and there are not two football teams here, and everybody's a Bears fan, right? Like the Cubs fans are Bears fans, Sox fans are Bears fans. People who don't watch any sports when the Bears are good become Bears fans. But in this market, with the amount of people here and the amount of people looking to go spend their entertainment dollar, look at what investment brings you, and that's all I want for my White Sox. That's all I want. And we're watching it right now in real time. We're watching an organization do something that we don't even expect them to do as a battered fan base when it comes to the Bears. And that is go out and win, to have a young quarterback that seems to be working out, to get the right coach at the right time, to put the right guys around. When there's injuries, next man up actually works. Like this is astounding as a Chicago sports fan to watch. And there's no reason why it can't happen with any sports team in Chicago. This is one of the biggest markets in the country. And you just have an owner that doesn't do the investment. Like we talked about that fluid payroll that Chris Getz has.
Right.
And I mentioned it on the show you weren't on because you were out shopping for your car. And I just kind of, it was a throwaway line that I noticed. I don't even think I realized I said it until I was doing the editing, that maybe the fluid thing is Ishbia. Like, is it possible? I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but is it possible that the number that Getz was given isn't great in terms of his budget? And the reason he says it's fluid is because a minority owner who's eventually taking over the team, who visits the Pope and invites him to go do the first pitch, who's now being identified as a White Sox owner by press circles when he speaks, because everybody knows he's eventually going to get it. And he may be starting to assert just a little bit of influence, even though it's not his team. Does he knock on Chris Getz's door and say, Getzy, I mean, like, if you need a little bit more, because I really don't want to watch garbage. Like, is that possible? Or is that just me, again, in a coma, not really understanding reality?
No, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, because the whole idea, the only reason why Ishbia is not the outright owner is because they're just slowly retiring Jerry's shares, right? They're slowly phasing him out, giving him essentially not a golden parachute, because that's when you really just launch somebody out of the penthouse and let them land wherever they can, as softly as they can. But this is Jerry's exit strategy and Ishbia's entrance strategy. So there's really nothing, I don't think, that would stop him from sitting there saying, I can put more into this team if I choose to. And doing so, sit there and say, I'm going to put it into the payroll. I'm not going to put it into something that's the general fund. But the minority owners have always been so very small. Even Jerry's shares are so very small by comparison that nobody really probably wanted to step up and say, okay, I want to do this in the past. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that that's why it's fluid. The other reason is that it could very well just be that Jerry, within the semblance and sense of, I'm kind of already out of here, I already have 1 foot sort of out the door, is just sitting there going, look, I'm not going to put a number on this. I'm not going to put anything out there, but make it make sense to me. And, I'll do something, or Justin will do something. And maybe there is an agreement between all of the ownership group that instead of giving Chris Getz a budget and letting him go spend money, that he's got to go in and make a case for why he needs it. And that that feels just as likely to me, is that it's, and I hate to bring up Jabba's palace again, because I'm not trying to portray Jerry as like a fat thing sitting there eating live frogs. Far from it. It's the idea that he's sitting in an office in a very, dark and dangerous place that you only enter in there if you absolutely have to, and you're going to have to negotiate for your life. And that's the feeling I get for Chris Getz, is that when he goes in there, he's got to have his negotiating hat on. He's got to be on top of his game. He's got to prove why Jerry should do business with him.
Well, he said that, though.
Even though he's his GM.
But Getsy explained that. Remember that? Last year he was talking about
right.
that they had to go in and he had to make like a whole presentation to the owner to get him to understand what he wanted to go and do. And that there's a way that you have to kind of present things to him. It was like a throwaway line. I think a lot of people like ignored it. And from that moment, I have the impression that he understands who his owner is and he knows that he has to talk to him a certain way. And when you think about Ishbia, and whether or not my theory that the reason it's fluid is because he could step in, to piggyback on your idea that it would be something specifically for payroll, what pops into my head is Moneyball. Remember that movie? The book right. First. I read the book first. And then the movie portrays things that happen in the book. And you have, Brad Pitt as Billy Bean, and he wants Juan Rincon. And he's like $275,000, and he's like extra money in the payroll because he's got this deal made. And when the owner doesn't want to give the money, the counter proposal from Billy Bean is, I'll pay for it, because Billy Bean makes enough salary that he's going to take the $275,000 out of his salary and pay Rincon. But if he turns around and sells him back or trades him away to make money, he gets to keep the profit from him. And he says that to the owner, and the owner folds and gives him the $275, right? And what pops into my head is the idea that, like, if that's legit, like if that was actually something that was proposed, right? Imagine if Ishbia is like, look, you want so-and-so? All right, I'll write the check, but then I own him. He's not Jerry's. Like these are the weird things that run through my brain. Because I'm like, okay, well, in Moneyball, this happened. That seemed to be a very accurate account. I mean, it was written by a journalist who was following the team. It wasn't written by Billy Bean. And so, like, these are things that happened behind the scenes. So that's just really interesting to me, the idea that, like, that could be the fluid. That could be the thing. There could really be a number from Jerry. And then there could actually be this minority owner who's had a conversation with Getsy and said, look, I mean, I get what you're trying to do here. My door's always open. I'm on my way to go see the Pope and invite him to go do the first pitch. Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
and bring him a Nellie Fox bat.
The Nellie Fox bat thing is hysterical to me with the Pope.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Cause did you see how excited he was?
All he is he's my dad, but he's the Pope. He's like all of our fathers. If your father's still around and you're my generation, like that's what he is. Okay. He's an older guy who's been a White Sox fan, whose favorite players are from the 50s, right? Nellie Fox, Louis Aparicio. If somebody gave my dad a Nellie Fox bat, he'd be over the moon. Like the Pope is living his best life. He's a Chicago White Sox fan who now is the pontiff of like all of Catholicism around the world, right? I mean, he's not paying for any more drinks, that's for sure, right? He's pretty popular. I saw this thing.
I'm sure he's taken care of.
I saw this thing the other day where like somebody got him like pizza from the South Side. Honestly, I don't remember what pizza place it was. I don't want to say the wrong one, give credit to the wrong one, but somebody brought pizza from a popular South Side pizza place and yelled out that they had it to him while he was in his little convoy moving through the crowd. And he stopped and reached out and just ate the pizza directly from them. And like security was mad at him because like they couldn't verify if it was poison. And he's just shoving pizza into his mouth because he misses Southside pizza, which is hysterical to me because he's like, I'm the Pope. God's got me. Even if they poison me, I might survive. He put it, as my mother says, he put it in God's hands and he ate the pizza. I love this guy. I mean,
it was the Poperoni pizza from Aurelio's.
Oh, is that what it was? You looked it up? Okay. So he saw somebody's like, we got Aurelio's. He's like, oh, hit me with a slice. Like, I love that. And he's getting the Nellie Fox bat. I mean, this is the number one White Sox fan. This guy right here. Jerry's got to spend money because otherwise you don't want the Pope. When you're getting to the end of life, I mean, I know that Jerry Reinsdorf is Jewish. I understand that. This is not the same religion. Right. But you get to the end of life, I wouldn't tick off the Pope.
No, I would. That's the last thing you want to do.
No,
I would think it doesn't really matter what your beliefs are. you sort of hedge your bets and sit there and go,
oh yeah,
but it's the Pope.
Right.
Maybe I should not annoy the Pope.
Exactly.
Irritate the Pope.
Exactly.
There should be no papal irritation.
Like believe in something, right? Like I'm Catholic, right? I'm Catholic.
Yeah. Yes.
I go to church every Sunday. All right. I bring the kids. And my mother gave me communion today because she goes and gives communion to people that are sick, and she had one extra. And she doesn't know what to do with it. And she's like, "Did you have communion today?" And I'm sitting here in the studio, and I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I need someone to take this." That's how Catholic I am.
So, yeah. You're so Catholic that like, on a random weekday afternoon.
Right, exactly. And she's like, "Have you had anything to eat?" I'm like, I was drinking a bottle of water. She's like, "Good enough. Come on, here we go."
Oh, mercy.
Yeah, I was sitting right here in this exact spot working on some editing. And then she stops by and she's like, I got to find someplace. I got to use this. And I'm like, and she's like, "We were one extra." And I'm like, okay, that's how Catholic I am. And even being that Catholic, like if I'm towards the end of life, actually in all my life, I respect all religions, but I not only respect them because you should, but like, what if I'm wrong? Like I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. And I should think Jerry at this age, the way he walks around, this is we're in the last chapter, buddy. Start listening to the Pope. The Pope wants a winner. Increase the payroll a little bit. That's what I'd be doing. If I were a guy that knew I was probably going to go meet my maker soon, I'd want the Pope happy.
Yes. Yeah. You would. In fact, I would put in a call to the Vatican if I were Jerry, and just ask His Holiness. Who you like in the free agent market?
Right, exactly. Get some advice from him. Like, ask him what he's thinking.
How do you feel about Ryan O'Hearn?
Right, exactly. Like, see if he's into Luis Arias. Like, I mean, just kind of ask him what he should do. Before we get out of here, I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier in the show, and you were talking about this pitching staff and what Mike Vassal's role could be. And I was looking at it while you were talking. This is going to be so interesting, not only in the offseason, but in spring training, like where all these guys fall. Because Shane Smith was never intended to be a fifth starter. And now he's arguably, it's not a very hard argument to make, the best pitcher on your staff.
Yeah, he might go into the season as the number one.
Yeah, he's probably your number one. Vassal could end up being a starter. This kid that you acquired towards the back half of the year, Duncan Davitt, who was added to the 40-man, he could be a starter. Grant Taylor, I think, eventually becomes a starter. And what I find really interesting is that Taylor and Davitt have both been described as guys that are going to get multiple innings this year. You got a lot of guys that are doing multiple innings, at least the way that Chris Getz talks. Maybe he forgets who he said is getting multiple innings, but like the way that it's kind of described is like, we've got some 1 inning guys, but we've got multiple guys that have the potential to be starters that we're giving 2-3 innings. Like we're going to have like an abundance of long relievers. You might see a very different way of using a pitching staff. We always talk about we don't want to wear out the bullpen. Well, one of the ways they may not wear out the bullpen, especially with young guys, is in those shortened games where somebody's only going 4 or 5. Now here comes Grant Taylor. Here comes Mike Vassal. Here comes Duncan Davitt. Whichever one of them don't make the 5-man rotation. Guys like that coming in and pitching 3 more. And then your bullpen isn't really that destroyed. So I find it really interesting because you got a lot of names that, like, if you go and look at the roster, you could easily assume, well, this is just a relief pitcher who's a relief pitcher last year. But I think they're going to have a lot of expanded roles, and there's going to be guys that are going to get chances, not only in spring training, but during the season to move into that rotation. It's going to be fascinating to watch. If I'm a guy like Sean Burke or Jonathan Cannon, I'm not assuming anything about my safety in that rotation.
No matter how many pictures are posted online of the White Sox starting rotation where Burke and Cannon are standing there.
There's no guarantee they're even breaking camp in that rotation, depending on how these other guys do.
No, not even at all. And look at what Vassal did last year. 101 innings, okay, over the 47 games. So 101 innings is, a reasonably decent amount, especially if you're expecting a starter to go 180 at this point, right? That seems to be the benchmark. It's not a 200 plus inning thing anymore. So could Vassal pitch his way into the starting rotation after posting a 2.50 ERA and a 1.248 WHIP? Yeah, he could. He could very easily pitch his way into the starting rotation in spring. They could be considering him as somebody who is already somewhat stretched out to take on that role. And when you have a rotation that's wide open, why wouldn't Batman be amongst your considerations? The other thing is that he proved himself to be pretty flexible out of the bullpen. He was doing multi-inning stuff. He was doing high leverage stuff. You don't have a set back end of the rotation. With all apologies to Jordan Leisure, there's no set closer. Grant Taylor does not appear to be the set closer because they want to make him into a starter again. They want to stretch him out. So could you see Vassell take that role on, even though he's not a high strikeout guy necessarily? I mean, last year, strikeouts per 9 was only 7.3, which is pretty low for a closer. But there's so many different ways that these guys could get used. I think it's just going to be a question for some of them of, one, what does the team need from them? And how much are they team players? And two, what is it exactly that they're going to excel in? Is the problem with Vassell historically, before he comes to the White Sox last year as a Rule 5 pick, that he gets exposed after a couple of rounds through the lineup? If that's the case, and they haven't fixed that, then no, he's not a starting candidate. But he's a guy that could be very, very important out of your bullpen. And if you want to think like Liam Hendricks, failed starter, numbers weren't all that great, becomes a dominant closer for a while, maybe that's what Vassell is next year. And you know, who knows? And I think we get to wait and see what they do in the Rule 5 draft, because if they do take another pitcher that's a Shane Smith clone of sorts, then, you know, you might have a starting rotation and a bullpen that basically has a long relief rotation to back them up, which would be, you know, incredibly interesting and novel, but also might be the best way to actually fully form a competitive pitching staff by 2027.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.